Hong Kong police have arrested almost 300 people after an afternoon of anti-government protests. We're looking now at live pictures from Hong Kong, where police have fired pepper sprays at several locations across the city, including Central, Causeway Bay and Mong earlier. Now, today's protests have been triggered by Hong Kong's legislature debating a bill that would criminalise any show of disrespect to the Chinese national anthem. And anyone insulting the song could be fined of up to $6,400 and be jailed for up to 3 years. Pro-democracy lawmakers say it's a fresh attempt to crack down on dissent. Anger has also been rising at the mainland government over plans to impose a new national security law in Hong Kong. And Wei Du joins us live now. Wei, you were at that protest early in the afternoon. Tell us what's the situation right now in the streets.
Yeah, Glenna, actually here on Hong Kong Island, the police quickly really put this situation under control. We don't see a lot of protesters still out in this part of the city anymore. From what we've seen online, a lot of them do seem to be milling around in Mong, that's a shopping district in Kowloon. But so far, still very heavy police presence there, but it's not a violent situation. And this could continue for a while because, as we stated on Sunday, right now, practically everybody wears a face mask in Hong Kong. So it's very difficult for the police to tell who is there to protest and who is there just going about their normal business. The people right now, even the ones who are protesting, they're not committing acts of violence. They're simply going around in small groups and chanting slogans, including Hong Kong independence, our only way out. And that's a recent escalation after Beijing said it would introduce a national security bill into the city. Up until 5 o'clock, about 300 people have been arrested today in Hong Kong, according to the police. That's a pretty large number, given actually how brief and how small the protests were earlier today. And a lot of these people were arrested in large clusters. In the afternoon, we were in Causeway Bay and we witnessed about 100 people being arrested at the same place. This happened very shortly after lunch when protesters who had gathered inside a mall streamed out onto the streets. Their plan was to march 5 kilometers towards the Legislative Council compound, and that's in Admiralty. But in the end, they made about only 100 meters when they were completely surrounded by police, and many of them arrested. Precisely what kind of action warrants arrest today? There is a little bit of ambiguity because we spoke to some high schoolers. They came in a group of 5. 3 of them were let go, 2 were arrested, and some of these protesters arrested today were incredibly young, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, many of them still in school uniforms. If we're going by last year's experience, a lot of them in the end actually wouldn't be charged. But from a policing point of view, the police have now realized that these proactive arrests are simply very effective in breaking up the group and sort of keep the protesters away from high-risk targets. That today clearly is the Legislative Council, where the second reading of the national anthem bill was underway. Now, the anthem bill is controversial, but it's actually almost entirely overshadowed by the national security law that Beijing announced last week. The protesters going out today, they're saying a lot of them actually no longer believe they could defeat this law, but some of them have said that they simply wanted their anger to be heard. Glenda.
Speaking of that new law, Wei, Hong Kong media say Beijing is expanding the scope of it. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think you're referring to media reports that says the national security law will criminalise seditious activities as opposed to what Hong Kong had before. The basic law would seek to criminalise seditious acts. So critics say what this means is it broadens the scope. For example, if you go to a protest where somebody at the protest commits seditious act, that could in turn make the whole protest seditious activity. So everybody who takes part in the protests could be held accountable for that as well. Now, this is hugely alarming to a lot of Hong Kongers, not just pro-democracy activists. In fact, one of Hong Kong's deputies to the NPC, Michael Tian, today gave interviews to the local media and said he also couldn't support this expansion. But the supporters of the bill says that this is consistent with a common law tradition of joint enterprise, which is to say when a group of people act together, they share the responsibility. So this is not a totally settled issue here. Another thing that's got people pretty worried today is the Reuters report yesterday that says the national security law could potentially ban foreign judges from hearing national security-related cases. And that is not just about Hong Kong's top court and the foreign non-permanent justices that sit on Hong Kong's top court. Now, Hong Kong's local judges actually are only local in a sense that they're Hong Kong permanent residents. And many of them are actually foreign citizens. So if this report turns out to be true, that would also mean a very large portion of Hong Kong's judges from the top court down to magistrates court wouldn't be able to hear protest-related cases. That's raising the alarm once again, with a lot of people questioning if the judiciary has to pick and choose which judges to hear which cases. Can they still trust the independence of the judicial system? Guys.
Okay, many thanks for getting us up to speed with the ever-changing situation in Hong Kong. Wei Liu there speaking to us from the territory.